the feeling when I'm like riding a wave, I want to feel that it's you, it's only you, you know. You're in control of everything. You have to like swim to catch the wave and step up, stand up in the board and ride the wave. Surfing, this is something that I used to do like before my accident, and I just wanted to try it out again because it's been years, and this being in the water is something that I want to do. I was telling to myself like I was so yeah, I just go completely blank. Can you repeat one more time the question?
Nobody really understands the complexity and the consequences of a brain injury till they've been touched by it.
I had my traumatic brain injury accident on February 4th, 1995. I had the accident while skiing, and I fell down the mountain, they say 900 feet. I used to be a runner. I used to run every day, 5.5 miles a day. Now I cannot run at all. My left side is impaired enough. I'm unable to put one foot in front of the other and make a run.
Before my TBI, I played several other sports. I was an all-around gymnast, so I did every event. Some of these are silver and gold medals here from different meets throughout my career. The silver one I'm actually the most proud of. It was my first medal, and it was for my floor routine. Floor was always my best event. I loved to tumble. This was definitely probably one of my biggest accomplishments. I did 2 seasons of track and field. I ran the 100 and 200 meter dashes in the spring and the 55 in the winter. I threw the shot put. I did the triple jump. And I was in the 4x100 relay for my high school track team, as well as I was a soccer player. I played sweeper. I also played hockey in high school. I played center, and I always skated my whole life. Cause of my TBI was a fall in a soccer game.
After my injury, I was extremely determined to walk again, to read books again, to get back to school and see all my friends and hang out with them. And that's what really helped me through my recovery. My injury occurred from a snowboarding accident.
I was in a plane crash. I had no idea what had happened to me until I was told. It was pretty difficult to comprehend that I had been through all of that. I was told that my life would never be the same as it was before the accident. I'm a traumatic brain injury survivor.
A traumatic brain injury is caused by a mechanical external force to the head that disrupts brain function and results in behavioral problems, thinking problems, problems with emotional control, and essentially interacting with the environment.
It takes a lifetime to build a good deed, and only a millisecond to destroy it.
My TBI was a car accident.
The causes of traumatic brain injury vary by age. Individuals who are adolescent to in young adulthood, most common cause is motor vehicle accidents. And then in the older age group, say 65 and above, the most common cause of traumatic brain injury is falls.
And then one starts over again, because every situation has a solution and one has to search for it.
I used to swim. I used to be a surfer in Puerto Rico for fun. Because of my injury, I cannot go back to the ocean and surf. So I decided to relearn again how to swim. That was the key, the thing that most helped me to recover, because I can do many movements in the water. When I started, I used fins because I couldn't swim. I was depressed the first year after I wake up from my coma. I went depressed because I was seeing everybody that surround me, walking, going to places, enjoying life, and I was kind of a little hard on myself. The first year was very hard. I just started to get motivated myself, doing a lot of exercises, physical exercises, mental exercises that will help me to recover from my injury. I wanted to look good, and I wanted to be stronger as I used to. And I started to work out, and I started to see the results. It took some time, but I just keep going forward.
How long did the I have trouble talking. That's one of my problems associated with this brain injury.
The consequences of traumatic brain injury are heavily influenced by factors that existed before the injury. So, in other words, what the person brings to the table, if you will. The injury circumstances themselves, as well as what happens after the injury.
Your team is behind you. It was a very good situation because as a young man, I was roughly 33 years old at the time. and I was the president of a company. But that was when before my accident. My accident had a tremendous impact on my career and my ability to hold such a big job like that.
As many as 70% of people are unable to get back to work or the job they did after a traumatic brain injury.
So this was my last soccer cleat of my athletic career, the last shoe I ever wore playing a sport. And so these are the collection of some of the sports things that I have from my career that is now over, but I still like to talk about it because it's an important part of my life. My TBI is considered mild on the scale.
Traumatic brain injury has often been referred to as an invisible injury, and particularly for individuals who have mild traumatic brain injury. And that term is a misnomer because the effects or the consequences of mild traumatic brain injury can be actually very severe.
It is visible that I have larger pupils now because of the injury. One might not be able to tell that I have trouble following things with my eyes, and so it's more difficult to track things. Also with my light sensitivity, someone might not really know that I'm in pain every time I go outside and I'm in the sunlight. So they're very dark, specifically, so they're prescription. I wear them every time I go outside because the light's too painful for my head to deal with. I also used to have noise sensitivity, and that can't be seen, so even when I would go into a school, if I would hear lockers or a bell, then that would be really difficult to deal with, and my headaches would get worse.
What we used to call folks who were struggling with the challenges caused by, quote, a mild brain injury, you use the phrase, walking wounded. You look good, you sound good, you speak well, you're walking without too much difficulty or without any difficulty. Your hands are moving. You can read. You can write. So what's wrong with you? Many things are wrong with you. And put them all together, you have a very complex situation and very hard to diagnose.
I have to stare at each circle of different colors, and they're to be put at different distances so that I work on my depth perception. And so with the first one, I'm supposed to see an X through this, so the strings will separate, and then more and more as I go out, I'll become less cross-eyed, and then going back in, I become more cross-eyed, and I have to hold the gaze on each dot for a certain amount of time so that I am trained to be able to see in that depth. What I do is I have to follow the tinfoil on top of the stick in different directions. And those directions are vertically, the depth direction, and horizontally. And all I have to do is follow the dot with the dot of the tinfoil with my eyes and without moving my head. And I do all of these every day to help with, again, my concentration, my eye tracking, and help reduce my pupil size and my headaches. Should be done about 3 times a day.
People who sustain concussions are not to be taken lightly. There's no head injury that should be ignored. And there's a tremendous amount of knowledge regarding concussions. And I think to say that I had a bump on the head, you need to be checked out. And if you feel you're not being checked out well enough, then seek another opinion. Call the brain injury support groups and chapters in your state and find out where you should call if you do not know.
After I had gotten out of ICU and out of rehab, I was determined just to do well in school, to make up the 2 months of schoolwork I had missed, to graduate with all my friends from 8th grade. Or going into high school, my parents and both my parents and I didn't really know how it would do in terms of schoolwork. So I gave it my best effort, and then now I'm determined to do as well as I possibly can do in college, and hopefully go on to med school, and just be the best person that I can be, basically. I was in a coma for 6 days.
Coma is complete loss of conscious awareness, as well as loss of wakefulness. So when somebody's in coma, they are neither awake nor aware of themselves or the environment. So the eyes are continuously closed. Under no circumstances do the eyes open.
I suffered a severe traumatic brain injury.
My accident was severe.
I believe it was severe.
The severity of traumatic brain injury has been characterized as mild, moderate, and severe. The movement now is toward development of other systems for characterizing or stratifying individuals who have had a traumatic brain injury along different platforms. So, a separate platform for cognition, a platform for physical function, a platform for psychological health. And so we could begin to then develop a profile for each individual that includes each of those platforms. We get a much more specific picture of who that individual is, and we can target treatments better.
I get lonesome a lot because I live alone. I use the cane because it keeps me from falling and keeps me a little steadier than if I went somewhere without it. It's colorful because I originally was a rehab cane, and I just wanted to sparkle it up a little bit, so I bought some duct tape, and that's all it is. I just wrapped the duct tape all around it, and I actually get compliments about my one-of-a-kind cane. I've never seen another one like it, and it's because I have no balance. I have fallen, and I have fallen in my house.
Traumatic brain injury causes a wide range of problems, including difficulties with thinking abilities. So attention, concentration, memory, problem solving, judgment, perceptual abilities. These are all the sorts of things that one needs to negotiate their day. In addition to the cognitive problems, physical problems. So they may be changes in sensory function, changes in motor function, weakness or coordination, changes in emotional function. So people who were not particularly emotionally expressive can become very emotionally expressive. Or you may have the opposite. Somebody who had a lot of affect or emotion becomes very flat and non-expressive from an emotional standpoint. Behavior can often change. So also described as changes in personality. So tendencies that people have may change sometimes dramatically.
We talked about the fact that sometimes we wish it were broken bones and things that how they're going to heal and how long it's going to take.
Most of the regulations in the insurance industry can calculate how long it would take to heal a broken bone, to repair a gallbladder, to remove an ulcer. There's no calculation for how long it takes to recover from a traumatic brain injury.
When it's the brain, you can't tell. You don't know what's going on in there, and
the brain recovers in its own time with a lot of help.
I don't think people truly know what somebody goes through when they have a TBI.
People still just think, well, I feel okay, so why do I have to wait 3 weeks before I go back out onto the field after my concussion? A concussion can be very, very serious, and you have to let your brain heal, and a lot of people just don't adhere to that right now.
recently learned that the recovery process goes on longer than I think we once thought. So people typically used to think about the first year or 1 year as the period in which the brain has to recover, and that wherever you were at the end of a year is probably where you're going to be for the rest of your life. And I think that we know now that that's not true. That does not hold. That people continue to improve after that.
Is really critical to prepare yourself for continually recovering and healing. And it's a long process. And never give up. You're on a good road of recovery. And what you look like in the first year, you won't look like in the second, third, or fourth. You will continue to recover. The brain's an amazing organ. There's a very old and trite saying about traumatic brain injury, that each injury is like a snowflake, and there are no two snowflakes alike.
What it boils down to is every traumatic brain injury is different because every person's different.
The truth is that every individual brain injury is different, and so again, it differs in terms of the mechanism of injury. What happened to that individual's brain? There's virtually impossible to injure the brain, two brains the same way. And then if we layer on to that, all of the differences in the premorbid or the pre-injury personality factors that person brought to the table, their social supports, and all of those things are all going to go into how that person experiences the brain injury. And it's going to be very variable one to the next. So we really need to begin to account for all of these different dimensions of function that human beings experience before we can ask questions about whether a particular treatment is effective for a certain type of person with brain injury.
I know before my injury, I had never heard somebody use the words traumatic brain injury. I think there aren't enough people who are aware of this injury.
The general population suffers TBIs so much every day, and they can happen doing absolutely anything, not just sports, like in my case.
To spread awareness, I personally have created an online presence. I go by the name Concussion Mom, and like Madeline, I've counseled so many other moms from all over the world, refer them to doctors and therapies, and just help them kind of get through it. Part of the problem, though, is acceptance, and people don't necessarily want to hear it, and sometimes when it happens to their child, they can't accept the fact that their lives may have to change.
We need another generation of advocates to come forth, and maybe some of you will become such advocates. This is not an easy journey. It's a long journey. It's a difficult journey. And it's very difficult not only for the individual, but for the family. Learn from the folks that have been there. And family members are a great source of learning, particularly when they've gone through what you're going through.
Well, this was a serious a serious condition that make everybody change in the family. And we try to help him as much as we can since the beginning. They trying to stabilize him, and they induce him to coma. And then after that, he cannot recover from the coma.
I was in coma for 2.5 months.
We have a hope that he's gonna become well. When we asked the doctor how his the recuperation is gonna be, they don't know. They say well, we don't wanna say something that we don't know. So he might walk, he might not. He was in a wheelchair, and he cannot get out from the wheelchair. We had to put him in a bed, taken out of bed, taken to the bathroom. So when we take it home, was like a baby. We have to do everything for him. I don't know how many months it took to he start walk, make steps, little steps.
Siempre estaba con mucha fe porque sabía que él se iba a poder levantar otra vez.
She had a lot of faith that I was going to recover or get up again and do all my stuff again.
Madeline's TBI following the accident really changed our lives immediately. You know, she couldn't be left alone.
If we left the house, we could only go to one place for a short period of time. So if I had to go to, let's say, the drugstore and then pick something up at the grocery store, I would have to bring her home in between, even though they were in the same location, because the fatigue that she had from the injury was so great that she couldn't walk through the two stores. And there were some schools that she couldn't apply to because the visual stimulation of certain parts of the school that she would have to go to a lot were too disturbing to her head. What happens when you have a brain injury that people can't see is incredible. Nobody would believe what goes on and how your life changes just from that one hit to the head. The information, yes, we had to search for it. She slept for hours and hours a day, so while she was asleep, I was next to her doing research. And that's really how we got most of our information. And then if I found people online that I thought could provide me with some information or some help, I just called them or emailed them, and I've just met hundreds of people that way, and I've learned so much about it just by doing that.
Her recovery over a period of years has almost been, we'd made a lot of progress, and then all of a sudden we'd hit a plateau, and then we'd find some other solution that'd get us beyond that plateau. We'd be with that care provider for a little bit, and whatever was exacerbated or aggravated at that time tend to quiet down, and then something else would kind of pop up, and we'd find somebody else to deal with that, whether it be an herbalist, a chiropractic, a balance specialist, Reiki, I mean, a whole spectrum of alternative medicine we probably have explored to now functional neurology, right? And that was really the first therapy that started to help her with her sensitivity to sound.
So you never know what will work for you until you try it, and what works for someone might not work for someone else. So it's a lot of experimenting with the different kinds of therapies that are out there.
Humor tending to lighten things up always helped. You know, we've got somebody who graduated high school and just finished her freshman year of college, and you know, is just willing to do whatever it takes to do her best and be her best.
Sean was brought down the mountain, and it was ski patrol who didn't think that Sean would survive.
The neurosurgeon had said that there would be some type of impairment. To what extent, she couldn't tell us. We didn't know.
It's a journal that we started the first day that Sean was transferred to Dartmouth Hitchcock, Sunday, February 28th. Sean continues to amaze all of us. He told Michelle today that he wanted to try regular push-ups. This is so big. I'll get upset.
Don't want me to read it.
No, be all right. This is so big on so many levels. Sean is initiating a goal, just another way that his brain is getting better. Sean was able to do 14 push-ups. Sorry. It says, Sean is so proud of his progress. He told me that his favorite saying is, never, 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 never give up. And that's Winston Churchill. Mm-hmm. And do you remember I used to say to you, arm, because your left arm wouldn't swing?
Yeah.
and you didn't like when I would remind you and say, Sean, move your arm. So instead I would just say arm when Sean would be walking to remind him to move his arm.
What creates the most successful recovery are three things: the family, the level and location of expertise, how far you are from that expertise, and how you are insured. So it's family, expertise, and resources.
The support of loved ones for people recovering from a TBI is
Immeasurable.
immeasurable.
There's a lot of levels of support you need. Obviously, you need your friends and family, but you also need your rehab facility. You need other people, a network of people that have gone through it before to be able to help you and talk you through it. We had it to a certain extent, but I think we had to seek it out, and it would be nice to have something a little bit more formal, and that's why we're always happy to talk to people that are going through what we went through.
Support from loved ones is definitely crucial. It was just really nice to see how many people loved me and cared about me, and that really helped me get through my recovery and recover as fully and as completely as I possibly could.
I have dealt with the physical and mental challenges after my TBI through the help of the two people sitting next to me. They have been extremely supportive. They've always been willing to take me to different doctors, different therapies, and they're always giving me advice on how to stay positive.
Everybody did something.
I believe in you. And everybody here believes in you. You can do it.
A lot of patience. They had a lot of patience.
Dificultad, pero con mucho amor lo has ido.
Difficult, but with a lot of love she made it. She helped me. It was difficult at first, but she made it with a lot of love.
And I think that just the knowledge that that you're not on your own, despite how significant the problems are, goes a long way to protecting people from just falling into that sort of abyss of hopelessness that can sometimes occur. The presence, the simple physical presence of other people around, is protective from depression and hopelessness and frustration, and it is very, very important to try to ensure is available after the injury.
It takes determination to look for a solution. Persistence for the solution to be found. And patience until a solution is found.
Right before I started powerlifting, I started to go to the gym, but I couldn't bench press 5 pounds. Seriously, I couldn't squat 5 pounds. I started that body weight. It took me a lot of months. Then I started to control my own weight. I need a challenge, and so I started to increase my weight, and that's how I started to lift heavy, doing heavy squats. I started powerlifting because I used to do my own kind of physical therapy because of my recovery. I'm always, since a little kid, been involved in sports. I noticed that doing powerlifting and any other sport, it has helped me to recover much faster from my injury. My doctors sometimes are amazed about my medical record because my recovery is amazing. They say that me doing sports like disciplines, different disciplines, has helped me like to recover much faster. So that's why I do it, and I like it.
I've been playing the bass guitar for about 47 years. I started when I was age 11. My playing definitely changed after the TBI because I used to play a 6-string guitar as well. I started with bass guitar. I learned 6-string guitar as well. But then after the brain injury, it was very hard for me to use my left hand. My left side coordination is pretty far off. And I'm able to play the bass okay, not like I did before, but I could not play 6-string guitar because the strings are too close together. It requires too much coordination in my left hand to put them on the right strings and so on. Because I love to play, I love to hear good music, and I love to make good music. You know, it's not like it was, but it's good enough. And with these guys, we've been playing together for a long time, and we tend to build on each other, and therefore I enjoy it as much as I ever have because I'm doing something that I love. What I would recommend to other TBI survivors is do what you love in any way you can. You got joy from that before, that's why you love it, and you need to continue it because it can bring you a lot more self-esteem and a lot more self-confidence in approaching other new things as well. You know, always have something to fall back on.
My dog Trixie was one of my biggest supporters throughout my recovery process. One of the first doctors I ever went to was an amazing woman, and the first thing she asked me was, "Do you have a pet at home?" And I said, "Yes, I have a pug, Trixie." And she was so excited and so happy because she always recommends that her patients, if they don't have a dog or a cat or some sort of animal at home, to get a pet. If they're not comfortable with a dog or a cat, get a fish, so that there's something there that can keep them company to help in the recovery process. Because a lot of TBI survivors, they don't leave their house, they can't really interact with other people if they can't remember conversations. So if they have a pet at home, it's really helpful to talk to them, to have their companionship. And so with my dog, because I was bedridden for 3-4 months and out of school, out of contact with my friends, and no social life at all, I had my dog with me, sitting with me in my bed while I would listen to the TV, and she would just keep me company. She would always sit, and even now, if I'm not feeling well, if I am having an off day with my head, more so than normal, she can sense it, and she'll come and sit with me, and it's really cute. She's been a really great companion when either some of my friends have decided not to be my friend anymore. She's just always been there, and she's supported me. My TBI has changed me as a person in many ways. I have learned to become more patient as a person because I know that the recovery process is slow and doesn't happen overnight, and so patience has been something that I have learned. Also, I have learned acceptance because this is something that I've had to learn to accept to be able to enjoy the rest of my life, and I know that's very difficult for some people, but acceptance has been extremely important, as well as a positive attitude.
I'm very fortunate that I can still be active. I've traveled in the past couple of years to several different places, and I enjoy that. I travel with a group of people. I belong to a society that it's a lighthouse preservation society, and their trips are wonderful. I would advise distracting yourself during the day, doing something that you enjoy doing, something that you're capable of doing now.
It's like a second chance for me, like to do all over again, but this time I'm really taking taking it really seriously, and really making my best of effort to do the best